NAT instance. So NAT instance basically is required to enable the private subnet EC2 instance to get to the internet. So if we launch one instance in private subnet and that instance is not able to access outside internet because that instance is private. So to enable the instance to get internet access, we require a NAT instance that to be launched in a public subnet. And EC2 instances with private and elastic IP, public and elastic IP address do not need to go through the NAT instance.
So, can I ask a question here?
Yes.
Did you mention private instance?
Private subnet. So
Yes.
instances launch in private subnet. You can say private instance.
Okay.
NAT instance need to be assigned a security group. NAT instance is like your EC2 instance, but that AMI having some NAT capability means that system having some NAT capability. So this is a simple EC2 instance, but that need to be launched in public subnet. No traffic initiated from the internet can access the private subnet through the NAT instance. Only responses to the traffic initiated from the private subnet are allowed through NAT instance. So let me explain in more detail. So suppose you are having one subnet here and it is launched. So Mitali, can you tell me how you will differentiate between a public subnet and private subnet? Where to change so that by seeing that we'll know that yeah, this is a private subnet or this is a public subnet. So you can say this is a subnet and we can say this is private. So I will see what is the private subnet and how is the public subnet. So from the subnet we can go to the route table and see whether our route table is configured to route our traffic to internet gateway or NAT instance. If internet gateway, then that is a public subnet. If NAT gateway or nothing is there, you can say this is a private subnet. That means the routing is not going to internet. If you add one internet gateway, that is
Yeah,
a public subnet.
you should have one internet gateway and then a router that will connect to
Yes,
public subnet, and then public subnet will connect to private subnet.
private subnet. So this is suppose this is a private subnet and there is no internet gateway added. So these systems cannot connect to internet, right? But suppose you want to provide your systems to get access the internet means other people from the outside cannot connect to the your EC2 instance. But instead you want that you need some software update or need to download something. So you need internet means your EC2 instance needs some internet. So in that case, you can launch one NAT instance and that NAT instance will be in a public subnet in the same VPC.
So, I guess earlier you mentioned about some bastion host.
Yeah, that
And
is different. That is different. I'll
so,
let you know.
okay.
That is different and this is different. Bastion host basically, okay, I will add two instances. One is Bastion host
No, you
and
said that through bastion host we can connect to private subnet,
yeah,
right?
we can connect. See, we can connect, but here is our instance, how our instance is connected to outside. Here is the issue is our private instance need to connect to outside. But in the Bastion host case, we are going to connect to the instance,
Okay.
right? See, this is the Bastion. I will take two Bastion, one Bastion host and one NAT gateway. Suppose we are going, I am a user. I am a user as a user. But here is another repository, maybe GitHub. or maybe your Docker hub, whatever. GitHub. I am a user of my company and I want to connect to this EC2 instance, but this is in the private subnet. What I will do, I will create one Bastion host, connect to Bastion host, and from that Bastion host I can connect here. This will be the inbound and this will be the outbound. So I will connect like this way. Right. And I will get the response from the Bastion host. But my instance want to connect GitHub. This instance want to connect GitHub. So how will it connect? If it will browse or call GitHub, so it will go to the route table and break, right? But to do that, we need some NAT gateway. NAT gateway means some network address translation. That operation we need because we don't have any public IP. We have only private IP. So NAT having some public IP or a elastic IP. So NAT instance is a simple your EC2 instance having one public IP or your elastic IP. And using this NAT instance, our instance can communicate to the internet. This is called NAT instance. And this is called Bastion host. This is the difference. Using Bastion host, we can connect. But if our instance need to connect, they need NAT. Because Bastion host don't have NAT operation. NAT having some functionality to translate your address. Suppose you are having one public IP, private IP, and now you are connecting to the NAT and using their public IP, you are going to the internet. And the internet, the GitHub only knows the IP of your NAT, not your EC2 instance. They are using this public IP, right? Next is NAT gateway. See, NAT instance is a EC2 instance, and you have to maintain that. You have to maybe you can start, restart, you can shut down, or you can update their patch. You have to do those things because this is a custom instance, you can say. And next is NAT gateway. NAT gateway is a managed service, highly available, redundant, etc. Customer don't need to worry about your patching and OS update. This is a NAT gateway is a service, whereas NAT instance is a instance, one EC2 instance. NAT get see both are working those NAT operation. NAT gateway is fully managed by AWS, but for the NAT instance, you are managing that. And you can change your instance type. Okay, I need a big instance. You can also change that. But in case of NAT gateway, this is highly available, scalable. Those things. No need about your think about your instance capacity. Cannot assign a security group. In case of NAT instance, you are adding one security group and customizing your EC2
Okay,
instance.
can
But
you tell me why and how is it highly scalable?
this is a service, NAT gateway. This is a service by AWS. They will check everything. You see, the AWS will see those loads and they will scale automatically.
Mm-hmm.
As per their documentation, as per AWS, it is highly available and redundant. No need to think about your capacity, patching, update, everything. This is just a service.
Okay, but then
AWS is, yes,
but now when we are creating the EC2 instances, then we are seeing that AMI, right?
yes. No,
So
that is NAT instance. See, there is two different service, NAT instance and NAT gateway. NAT instance is you are creating, you are choosing those AMI means you are not choosing those AMI, you are just choosing your instance capacity. Yeah, this amount of CPU, this amount of RAM I need. But this is different. NAT gateway is different, but those operations are same. Those
Okay.
operations are same, but those are different. One is instance. For the instance, you can choose your security group. You can customize that instance. You can upload the patch, or you can do some customization inside the instance. But in case of NAT gateway, this is fully managed by AWS, and no need a security group. AWS is responsible for those patching, security, everything, and can scale up to 10 to Gbps of throughput. And in the NAT gateway,
Yes. So just to add one thing here, uh, Mithal, your question was how it is scalable. The
Yes.
most important scalable thing that I think third or fourth bullet point here
yeah,
can scale to tens of GBs.
GBPS,
So
GBPS.
that is what I mean, it doesn't matter. Let's say you are creating a NAT gateway to connect your VPC, and you are sending or receiving data, a lot of data, which you need like let's say 50 Gbps. I think it doesn't support up. I think it supports up to 40 Gbps, 45 Gbps. So you created for 2 Gbps, and all of a sudden there is a Christmas time, and people are buying a lot of things from your store, online store. So you need a lot of traffic. So at that time you need 20 Gbps. So AWS will automatically it will scale up that bandwidth.
Okay.
So I can say why people are choosing NAT gateway, because it is fully managed. So no need to maintain that instance or maintain anything from your side. This is fully managed by your AWS. So I can recommend to use NAT gateway instead of NAT instance, because for the NAT instance you have to manage everything.
And also it can take simultaneously thousands of connections at same time. Uh, uh, so when number of users increases, it automatically scales up that tolerance to get to accept that much connections.
And the NAT gateway works only with elastic IP, but in case of your NAT instance, you can use any public IP or elastic IP. But here you have to provide a elastic IP.
I think only one elastic IP you can use.
Only with an elastic IP, not public IP. So you have to allocate one elastic IP and you have to provide to the NAT gateway. So I'll show you. This is NAT instance is like no free tier comes under no free tier. You can I'll just show you. This is a NAT gateway. You can create a NAT gateway, and you can create my NAT, and you can also select some subnets and connection type public, and you have to provide one elastic IP. You can allocate one elastic IP and provide to this NAT. And for the NAT instance, 1 minute for the NAT instance.
But why you are not looking for NAT instance? Why did you write EC2?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I thought there may be an EC2. I'm just checking where is the NAT. NAT gateway, 1 minute. Because I normally using NAT gateway instead of NAT instance. Sudhir, where is NAT instance?
Oh, okay. I forgot. I have to see what one. Give me 1 second. Did you get it?
Hmm?
I think NAT instances should be under the VPC, right?
Yes, yes. VPC in VPC, I could not get that. Endpoint manage yes, NAT network analysis.
Did you create a VPC? I think once you create a VPC and click on that, maybe.
Oh, no, no, no. I need to create one private subnet, right? Or okay, while creating VPC. Okay, I'll check and let you know. I'll check and let you know tomorrow where to create the NAT instance. So next is VPC flow logs. So VPC flow logs enables you to capture information about the IP traffic going to and from network interfaces in your VPC. So basically VPC flow log is the log files, that is your traffic is going to your VPC, uh, or so some traffic is coming to your VPC. Flow log data can be published to Amazon CloudWatch logs. So for that you need to create one S3 bucket and you need to provide. So all the logs will be captured to your VPC. Flow logs can be help you with a number of tasks such as diagnosing your overly restrictive security group rules, monitoring the traffic that is reaching to your instance, or determining the direction of the traffic to and from the network interfaces. So basically, to analyze your traffic, or you can monitoring your traffic to your VPC. For that, you can create your flow logs. So let me show you. You can create one flow logs. Select the VPC, maybe my custom VPC. This is a whole VPC and you can create a flow logs for your VPC. So here is the button flow logs. Once you select your VPC, this is the flow logs and you can create your logs. So for that you need a S3 bucket. So name is optional. Okay, my flow log. So you can filter out the type of traffic to capture, right? Whether all traffic or accepted traffic or reject traffic. And the maximum interval, like in 10 minutes I can capture or in 1 minute. And also some destination to CloudWatch or S3 bucket. You can give to the CloudWatch and here you can select one bucket. So for the bucket, let me see. I can create any bucket like this one. We'll discuss about this S3 in the next, after our VPC completion. We can discuss about S3. S3 is a storage area where you can store our logs. So the record format, maybe AWS default format or your custom format. So I'm just keeping AWS default format, right? So I can create a flow log. So now see, there is nothing in my bucket. No object is there. Yeah, this one created just now. VPC flow logs with account number, and here is nothing. If I hit a request to my VPC, one log will be created. So this VPC having one subnet. Yes. So let me launch one instance, EC2 instance. And see whether there is some log is creating or not. Okay, one is running. One is running. Which VPC? This is on default VPC. And I'm launching one instance. This is a custom VPC, right? So next storage, hard tags, security group, launch. So we'll see the log soon here. So we can wait for 5 minutes, right? We can wait for 5 minutes. Let's discuss other chapters. Asia Pacific Mumbai. So next is VPC peering. So VPC peering basically to communicate one VPC to another VPC. By default, VPCs cannot communicate with each other because they are logically isolated from each other. To allow VPC to communicate each other, we need to set up a VPC peering connection. You can create a VPC peering connection between your own VPCs or with a VPC in another account. So your VPC communication can be your own account and can be a different account, or can be in same region or can be in different region. Peering connections are created through a request and accept protocol. I will create one connection. So one VPC will request and another VPC will accept that request. So once this is accepted, then your VPC can communicate to another VPC. And for that also you need to whitelist your security group and your NACL also to allow those subnet cider blocks also. If the pure Amazon VPC is within the same account, it is identified with the VPC ID. If the pure VPC is with a different account, it is identified the account number and VPC ID. So every VPC have the unique ID. So if you are connecting from one account, so it will be identified using one VPC ID. For different VPC, different account. So it is a combination of your account ID and VPC ID. The owner of the pure VPC, Amazon VPC, has the 1 week to accept or reject the request. So one VPC will send a request to accept. So there may be some time limit. After 1 week, if he didn't accept this, then your connection will be closed automatically. Your routing security NACL need to be updated accordingly to communicate the traffic. So Amazon VPC may have multiple peering connections, and peering is one-to-one relationship between Amazon VPCs. Like see in the first example, VPC B and VPC A, those are paired, but VPC C and VPC A also paired. That does not mean that VPC B will pair to VPC C. They don't communicate each other. VPC B and C cannot communicate each other. They can communicate to VPC A because the connection made to VPC A. This is called transitive routing. VPC connection do not support transitive routing. You cannot create a peering connections between Amazon VPCs that are matching or overlapping CIDR blocks. So if your VPC have overlapping CIDR block, means have same IP. So those IP conflict will occur. So you can not set up a connection, a peering connection of any overlap CIDR blocks. Here is see some example VPC A having the CIDR block 10.0.0 by 16 and VPC having the same also. So this VPC cannot communicate. So you ensure that your CIDR block have different IP addresses so that one system can connect to another system. Otherwise your IP conflict will occur.
Can you please explain transitive routing again? I got disconnected.
It means VPC, see VPC A have a connection with VPC B and VPC A have a connection to VPC C. VPC B can connect to A and C can connect to A, but VPC B cannot communicate to VPC C. This is the transitive.
Why it is not able to connect to B to C?
B cannot connect to C because we don't have any VPC peering connection. See, VPC B connect to A because we have set up one connection. Actually, this is the connection made. I'll show you how to connect. VPC B and A have a connection. VPC A and C have a connection. So they can connect. VPC C can send some data to A and VPC B can send to data to A. But B cannot communicate because we don't have any connection.
Okay. So if B wants to connect to C, then he has to go
Then
through
we have to set up another connection.
another connection.
Yes. To B to C. Using this connection, we cannot send some data. So let me show you VPC peering and sorry.
No, here the point is peering connections do not support transitive routing. I want to understand what do you mean by transitive routing?
Transitive routing means here is the if B is connect to A and A is connect to C, that B should not connect to C.
Okay.
In our mathematics, some concept was there or transitive, associative transitive. So this is similar.
What the concept? And why B cannot connect to C? Is there any
We
conflict?
need a connection setup. We need a connection. We can connect, so we need a setup, peering setup. So I'll show you how to do a peering. So after that you can understand.
Okay.
Okay. Let me connect one peering. Okay, here, okay, I'll show you the logs. So maybe now the logs should not have created. No. So let me connect and do some. Okay, the instance doesn't have a public IP before address. So give me some elastic IP. While creating, I did not add any public IP address. So I can connect. So how can I connect? Sudhir, are you there?
Yes.
Now see, I have created one EC2 instance and it shows the instance does not have any public IP address. Then how can I connect?
What we did, I forgot, man.
So for that I need to create one elastic IP. So allocate one elastic IP. Allocate. See, elastic IP chargeable when you are not using that. Associate elastic IP. Okay, to this instance. Now my instance having connect to a public IP, one elastic IP, right? So let's see whether I will connect or not. Connect. The instance does not have an IP before IP address. I have added to connect using browser client. The instance must have IP before address. I think we have added. No. Oh, 1 minute. Let me get some. Your elastic IP is here. 16. This is my elastic IP address 36135. Yes, this comes. Connect. Connect. Yeah, now connected. So I do some like right, it's working. I am able to connect to google.com, right? So let's, after some time, your log will come. PPC flow log. Okay, let's wait for some time. Maybe we have given 10 minutes timeline. So we can check at 8:50. So now we are going to connect a peering connection between two VPCs. VPC. So I have two VPCs, right? And I am going to connect my custom VPC to my default VPC. So let's select the custom VPC and create a VPC connection. What is the VPC peering? Yes, peering connection, right? So create a peering connection. This is the button. You can create a one peering connection. So name is my peering, and you have to select one VPC ID. I'm trying to connect from my custom VPC to default VPC. So this is the custom VPC and IP range is also different. So I can connect. So there is no overlapping here. This is the my account and the same region also. And the target VPC is the default VPC. See, default VPC CIDR block is different from our custom VPC. Otherwise, it will be problem because our CIDR block should be different. Otherwise, there will be IP conflict. So create the VPC connection. So I have requested my custom VPC requested for a peering connection. So my default VPC will accept that. Go to the default VPC peering connections. Yeah. So one pending acceptance. So I need to accept for my default VPC. Acceptor VPC is this, and the requester IP range is this, and the requester ID is this. The owner is this. So everything is mentioned here. So go and accept the request. So now I accept the request. See, now this connection is active. My VPC can communicate, my default VPC can communicate now with my custom VPC. This connection has been made. PCX ODE something is made, right? So for that, I need to also update my routing table accordingly, routing table and your security group. So let's see the routing table, like the route table. Yeah. So this is the default route table and this is our route table of our custom VPC, right? So in the default route table, I need to accept the custom VPCs. Here, suppose this is two VPCs. So this IP address of one VPC need to be whitelisted here, and this IP of the second VPC should whitelisted here, so that they will accept their communication, right? So let's select the route table of our custom VPC and we can add routes here. Peering, some peering connection will be here. Yes, this is, and 10 dot 1 minute. This is our custom VPC, right? So go to, so you need to add the CIDR block. Control C, Control save changes, right? So you need to add this thing in your route table, otherwise the traffic will not be routed. So this is very important point. And also you need to add in the security group if needed, the NACL if needed, right? So similarly, I can go to the another route table, this one, and yeah, you can add here. Remove this, 10, yeah, 10.0.0 by 16, and you can peering, what is a peering? Yes, then save changes. So Mithali, any questions, or it is difficult to understand?
I think after revising it, I can ask you.
Okay, okay, you can revise this, you can add, and you can try to connect. You can create some EC2 instance and try to ping one IP. Suppose my one VPC, there will be one instance and there will be another instance. You try to ping one instance to another instance, so it will work, right? Okay, so let's see our VPC flow log. 1 minute, 3. I think it must created. Yeah, here maybe, yes, created. This is your flow log. See, this is created using one folder, VPC flow, AWS logs, then your account number, then VPC flow logs, then your region, date means your year, month, day, everything. Yeah, now created, you can analyze this. Okay, let's open one, download. Remove this. Yeah, here is your flow log. You can analyze your flow log. Yes, this one, accept, there is no reject, right? So you can see 1 minute. Okay, let's you open using any CSV. I can change to CSV, I think. See, yes, this is the account ID and your interface ID. Many things is there. Protocol, packets, bytes, start, end, action, everything is there. So you can analyze these things. So elastic interface ENI and the IP address also there should be there. Yes, some IP address is there and port, everything is there. You can analyze your logs, VPC flow log. VPC flow log is clear or any questions?
I'm good.
Okay. Yeah. Now let's go to our transit routing. Transit routing means now just now we have created one VPC connection. That is VPC A to B we are connected. Now I will connect to my custom VPC to another VPC, maybe in on other account, maybe other region. That means the another account cannot communicate my default VPC because due to my connection to one third VPC, this VPC will not communicate each other. I think it is clear now. Italy?
I have a question.
Yes.
If in case I delete the default VPC, how do we create the default VPC?
No, default VPC, I think you cannot, you should not delete this. This is from AWS best practice. You should not delete anything from the default VPC. You will not get, I think, if you will delete. Right. Next, we will go to VPC endpoint. A VPC endpoint enable you to securely connect your VPC to another supported AWS services. I will show you and I will explain you more. Traffic between your VPC and other services does not leave the Amazon network. So they all are in a network, in a private network. A VPC endpoint does not require an internet gateway, virtual private gateway, NAT gateway, VPN connections, AWS direct connect connections. So instances in your VPC do not require public IP address to communicate with resources in the service. So see here one VPC endpoint connection. That means suppose you are in a private subnet, right? And you are having one private instance of private IP. Then how your private instance is communicate to other AWS services? Because to other AWS service means maybe your S3, maybe your Lambda function, maybe your SQS, SNS, many services are there. So how your private EC2 instance will going to connect? Because your instance don't have any internet connection. If you go through your NAT, that will be like some complicated way. Yeah, that is possible, but your connection will be slow. For that, there is some concept VPC endpoints. So VPC endpoint means you will directly connect to your instance to another service, and those are in a private connection. Your connection will be in GBPS. So your connection is very faster. Maybe the 100 to 1000 Gbps connection speed will be there for your VPC endpoints. So let's see how to create VPC endpoint. Yes, endpoints is here. No. So create one endpoint. So maybe some endpoint name, but it will chargeable, right? Maybe monthly $5 per month. They will charging for endpoint for one endpoint. So I'm not creating any endpoint, but I'm showing you how to create. can choose AWS services. Here is all the list of AWS services that your private subnet is going to connect. You can search your SNS, or you can search any other service. Select this and select your VPC and your subnet, and you are going to connect. And you can add some security groups and create an endpoint. That means from a private subnet, every instance can going to connect your SNS. From this set of subnets, every EC2 instance going to connect this SNS service, and your service connection will be faster in case of your VPC endpoint.
Sorry, what do you mean by SNS again?
Simple notification service. We'll learn that later. Or ACS, simple email service. Or you can say your DynamoDB. This is a NoSQL database. I think we have covered in our first second class. You might have forget this. You can connect to your DynamoDB. This is a NoSQL database. Right, this is the endpoint. So this endpoint is chargeable, nearly $5 per month. They will charge for each endpoint. So due to that, I'm not creating endpoint, just I'm showing. But you can try your own.